Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Awesome. Today we're going to be tackling speech recognition.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, there's this new model that's been making waves. It's called Samba ASR.
I've heard of that one.
Have you? Well, we've got a research paper here that breaks down how it works and why it's causing such a buzz.
I'm all ears.
So, you know how transformer models are super popular for speech recognition these days?
Like the one behind OpenAI's Whisper, right?
Right, but they're not really designed for those super long audio recordings. Like imagine trying to transcribe a lecture or whole podcast.
Oh, yeah, I can see how that would be a problem.
Well, the paper points out that the computing power needed for those transformer models, it just grows exponentially with the length of the audio.
Ah, I see. So it's not exactly the most efficient approach for those marathon recordings.
Exactly. And it's not just about the processing power. The paper also mentions that transformers can struggle with those long-range dependencies in speech.
Long-range dependencies.
Yeah, basically the connections between words or phrases that are far apart in the audio. Sometimes it's like they miss those crucial bits of context, especially with longer recordings.
That makes sense. It's like trying to follow a complex story, but you only get to read every other chapter. You'd miss out on all the important details.
Exactly. So the question becomes, what's the alternative? And that's where things get really interesting.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
The paper introduces this concept of state space models, or SSMs, specifically one called Mamba.
Mamba, huh?
Yeah, and this is kind of where things click. You see, SSMs are designed from the ground up to handle these really long sequences, and they do it with what's called linear complexity.
So the computational demands don't explode as the audio gets longer?
Exactly. It's much more manageable. So unlike transformers that could get bogged down, SSMs can just glide through those longer recordings.
That sounds like a major advantage.
It is. And Mamba takes it a step further with this cool thing called selective recurrence.
Selective recurrence.
Yeah, think about how our brains work. We don't pay equal attention to everything we hear, right?
We focus on what's important.
Exactly. And that's what Mamba does too. It prioritizes the key audio segments for better efficiency.
So it's kind of mimicking how our brains process information.
It is. And that brings us to Samba ASR, which this research says is the first to really use the power of Mamba for speech recognition.
Now that's exciting.
Yeah, the paper describes Samba ASR as having two main parts, both powered by Mamba. So you have an encoder to process the audio and then a decoder to generate the text.
Okay, that makes sense.
But what really sets it apart is this Mamba cross-connection mechanism.
Mamba cross connection, what's that all about?
Well, instead of just throwing all that encoded audio at the decoder all at once, this connection lets the decoder actually focus on specific parts of the audio as it's generating the text.
Oh, wow. That's like having a super powered attention span. It knows exactly which parts of the audio to pay attention to.
Exactly. So it's not just processing the audio efficiently, but it's making sure the decoder is working smarter, not harder.
I like it. So what kind of results are we talking about?
Well, they put Samba ASR through the ringer, testing it on all the industry standard benchmarks.
Like GigaSpeech, LibreSpeech, SBGI speech.
All of them. And across the board, it significantly reduced the word error rate.
Which basically means it's transcribing speech more accurately.
Yeah. And get this, on LibreSpeech Clean, they got it down to a wear of just 1.17%.
Wow, that's crazy low.
I know, right? It's super accurate. But it's not just about accuracy, right? The efficiency gains are just as remarkable.
Oh, I bet.
Compared to those resource-heavy transformer models, Samba ASR significantly cuts down both training time and inference latency.
So it's faster at transcribing, uses less energy, and can handle larger volumes of audio data.
You got it. And there's another bonus, robustness.
Robustness.
The paper highlighted how well Samba ASR handles noisy environments and spontaneous speech.
So all those ums and ahs and background chatter wouldn't throw it off.
Not nearly as much as some of those other models.
Impressive. I can see how this could be huge for things like transcribing meetings or lectures, where there's often a lot of overlapping speech and background noise.
Definitely. And that's just scratching the surface. The paper even hints at future applications for Samba ASR, like multilingual speech recognition and translation.
Imagine a world where language barriers are practically non-existent.
It's mind-blowing to think about the possibilities. They're also exploring different sizes of the model, so you could have a lightweight version for your phone and a more powerful one for massive data processing.
Like a Swiss Army knife of speech recognition.
Exactly. Plus, they're working on enhancing the pre-training process to make Samba ASR even more robust and accurate.
So it's like they're giving it a global education in all things speech.
It's incredible. They're even looking at real-time processing capabilities.
Real time. So the transcription would happen as the words are being spoken.
That's the idea. It would revolutionize things like real-time translation and live captioning.
Wow. It would be like having a personal interpreter or captioner by our side at all times.
Right. And to make things even more seamless, they're even exploring on-the-fly language detection.
So you wouldn't even have to select the language beforehand. It would just figure it out automatically.
That's the goal. The team behind Samba ASR is really thinking big. But I think we've covered a lot here, both about its current capabilities and its potential future.
Yeah, it sounds like Samba ASR is pushing the boundaries of what's possible in speech recognition.
It really is. But before we get too carried away, I want to take a moment to bring it back to our listeners. Why should they care about all of this?
That's a great question. I think the takeaway here is that Samba ASR represents a real shift in how we approach speech recognition.
Right. It's not just about faster or more accurate transcription.
It's about opening up new ways to interact with machines, to access information, and to connect with each other, even across language barriers.
It's about making the spoken word more accessible and understandable than ever before.
And I think as this technology continues to advance, its impact will be felt in almost every aspect of our lives, from how we work and learn to how we consume entertainment and stay informed.
Absolutely. Okay, I think that's a great place to pause for now. But before we officially sign off, there's one final thought I want to leave you with. It really makes you think, like, where could a technology like this take us?
Oh, the possibilities are endless. We've talked about some of them already, right? But I think this is just scratching the surface.
Yeah, I agree. What if we zoom out a bit, look at the bigger picture?
Okay, I like that. Let's zoom out.
So much of what we do, so much of how we communicate, it's through speech, right?
Absolutely. It's such a fundamental part of being human.
But right now, so much of that speech, it just vanishes into thin air.
Right. Like, think about all those lectures and meetings, those casual conversations we have every day. Most of them are just gone.
But what if we could capture those moments, not just as audio recordings, but as searchable text?
Ooh, now that would be powerful.
Right. Imagine a student who's struggling to keep up in class. They've got a lecture recording, sure. But what if they could also access a full transcript, maybe even a translation, if it's in another language?
It would be like having a personalized study guide. They could rewind, review, really dive deep into the material at their own pace.
Exactly. And it's not just students, right? Think about journalists, researchers, anyone who has to sift through hours of recordings.
Oh, I can see that being a game changer. Instead of listening to everything, they could search for keywords, jump right to the important parts.
Exactly. And for content creators, well, the possibilities are endless.
It would be amazing. A filmmaker could create subtitles in a dozen languages, reaching a global audience. A musician could share their lyrics with fans all over the world.
And think about the impact on accessibility. For someone with a hearing impairment, real-time captioning can make all the difference in the world.
Right, it would break down so many barriers, allowing everyone to fully participate in conversations and events.
Exactly. And all of that is possible because of the advancements happening in speech recognition, with models like Samba ASR leading the way.
It's really incredible when you think about it. It's not just about making things more efficient, it's about giving people new ways to connect and to learn.
I think that's a great point to end on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of Samba ASR.
It's been a fascinating conversation.
It has. And to all our listeners out there, until next time, keep exploring and keep those ears tuned for the future of sound.
See you next time.
You know, as we wrap up this deep dive into Samba ASR, it really makes me think about the future of speech recognition. It's not just about transcribing audio anymore, is it?
It's so much more than that. It's about understanding, connecting, breaking down barriers.
Exactly. Think about all those voices that have been silenced or marginalized simply because of language differences or accessibility challenges.
Yeah. Samba ASR and technologies like it have the potential to amplify those voices, to make sure they're heard and understood.
It's like opening up a whole new world of communication and understanding. Imagine a world where everyone can access information and share their stories regardless of the language they speak or their ability to hear.
And it's not just about giving a voice to those who haven't had one before. It's about enriching the lives of everyone. Imagine a world where you can effortlessly communicate with people from all over the globe, where language is no longer a barrier to collaboration and connection.
That's a powerful thought. And it's not just about interpersonal communication either. Think about how this could transform our relationship with technology.
Oh, absolutely. Voice assistants could become truly conversational, understanding our nuances and responding in a way that feels natural and intuitive.
And imagine the possibilities for education and entertainment. Interactive learning experiences that adapt to your individual needs. Immersive storytelling that transcends language and culture.
The possibilities are mind-boggling. And the thing is, this isn't some far-off futuristic fantasy. These technologies are being developed right now.
Exactly. And with models like Samba ASR paving the way, the future of speech recognition is looking brighter than ever.
It's an exciting time to be following this field. Who knows what incredible breakthroughs are just around the corner.
Well, that's a wrap for today's deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground, from the technical nuts and bolts to the mind-blowing potential of Samba ASR.
It's been a fascinating journey. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. And to all our listeners out there, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep your ears open to the amazing world of sound. We'll see you next time.